Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
There's a world outside your window, and it's a world of dread and fear, when the only water flowing are the bitter sting of tears. And the Christmas bells that ring there are the clanging chime of doom. And tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. Those are the lines from Band-Aid's, the song Band-Aid made, which was done by Bob Geldof, and he got a bunch of people, Boy George, back in the day, 1984, actually. And it was to help provide food for those who were starving in Africa, in Ethiopia, back in 1984. And George Michael was in it, Boy George, Sting, Phil Collins. There were a lot of British acts that were in there. And it brought to mind, I've been thinking about that a little bit, but it brought to mind that, yeah, this is the most wonderful time of the year. But remember, that line that I just read, and I'll read it again, and the Christmas bells that ring there are the clanging chimes of doom. Well, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. So, yeah, we're having a great time, and it's Christmas time, but is everybody having a great time? And that's what we have to ask ourselves. So, hey, right, Justin Mirigliani here. This is You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul on USA Global TV and Radio. And I just want to talk a little bit about this. And hey, Rachel, thanks for checking in. She likes the jacket. Thank you. Thank you. So this is the fun part. This is the fun part. The jacket, the Christmas trees, the food, the getting together with family and friends, the parties, all the things, the gifts, everything, watching kids open gifts, all the things that make it so fun. And I can remember not ever being able to understand, well, I shouldn't say not ever, not being able to understand. I might have been 4, maybe even younger, maybe 3. Maybe one of my first memories was a Christmas, probably in the late 70s. So we're talking, I was born in 74. I just turned 51 2 days ago. And so this is probably 77, 78, something like that. I was laying on my mom's lap in our house in South Philadelphia. And there were friends who would come over every year, and they would drink a toast to Christmas. And I think it was Christmas Eve that usually happened, if I remember right, or around there. In any event, they were talking about the adults, as I was laying on my mom's lap, just probably falling asleep, that even at Christmas, tragedy doesn't take a break. And I distinctly remember that people still get sick at Christmas time. People still go to the hospital. People die Christmas Day. In fact, unbelievably, George Michael died on Christmas Day, and his song was Last Christmas. And that's kind of ironic that he would die. And later did I find out what an incredible, incredible person he was. He was just amazing, with as philanthropic as he was, and all the great things that he did quietly that nobody ever knew about. And I thought, man, that's just, really true, that death doesn't take a holiday. It really doesn't. I had a friend who had to go to the hospital on Christmas Day. He waited for his kids to open up their gifts. He thought he was having a heart attack, and he didn't say anything until after the gifts were opened. Then he told his wife, "We got to go to the hospital," and he did, and he was okay. But it was Christmas Day. Nobody wants to think about those things. You want to think about the fun things. And They don't always happen. And then a little bit older, when I was probably closer to 10, I was watching TV, probably up on a Saturday morning before Christmas, very early, before anybody else. And I was watching TV by myself. And I remember it was one of the morning shows. I wasn't watching cartoons. I don't even think they were on yet at the time. It was early. And they were talking about Christmas, and they were saying how Christmas can be such a difficult time for people. I was thinking to myself, what are you talking about? How can it be a difficult time? It's the greatest time of the year. What could be difficult about it? It's always great. But that was an 8 or 10-year-old way of thinking of it. It didn't dawn on me that, yeah, Christmas can be tough for people for a lot of different reasons. So those two things have stuck with me. And again, it's kind of strange because you'd think as a young kid, maybe 3 or 4 years old, if that, maybe three, maybe less than three, who knows, in the late 70s, kind of sitting on my mother's lap, just listening to people around me talking. And it just struck me that I remember them saying this person had a heart attack and it was Christmas Eve or whatever. And I remember them talking about how it doesn't matter, Christmas doesn't discriminate or something to that effect. But I remember exactly what it meant. And it was just a baby. And then a few years later, hearing that on TV that Christmas could be hard. And now as an adult, I get it. I understand that very well. So my hope is that people will think about that a little bit, not just for people in Africa like Band-Aid did, which by the way was an incredible thing. If you think about it, they sold, I think it went platinum within the first couple of weeks, maybe months, but it sold like crazy. And then Live Aid came out of it, where millions and millions of dollars were there for people in Ethiopia during that famine in 1985. But it doesn't necessarily have to be people in Ethiopia. There are people right here that are going to struggle this Christmas time. And I don't think I have to tell you reasons why. Deaths. I have a couple of friends right now who are facing the first year without their parent, one of their parents, maybe a mother or father, several people that I know. And as I get older, that's going to keep happening. That's going to keep happening. Oh, Rachel says, when I worked at the IRS, it was a policy not to send notices during December. That's really good. That's really good. So it's nice that the IRS, even then, was, we demonize the IRS. I'm sure a lot of people do, but that is humane not to do something like that at Christmas time in December. But yeah, I mean, several people that I know, and I'm getting to the age now where it's going to keep happening. I'm again 51 years old, and people are going to lose their parents, and I eventually will lose my parents, and my kids will lose me, and that's going to, it never ends. It's not going to stop. It's inevitable. And those Christmases are not going to be the same, and they're not going to be as easy. And you'll look over at those empty chairs, and you'll look over where they used to sit in the living room watching TV, and you'll maybe watch a Christmas movie, and it'll bring back their memory, and it will be very, very difficult. And then hopefully as the years go by, it'll become less and less difficult. So there is a juxtaposition here where you have the fun where I'm wearing the suit, and then there's the sadness part of it. And there are other things, like I'm in the middle of a divorce. That's not easy to do at Christmas time. And not being able to always be with your kids when you want to be with your kids, because maybe you're separated, maybe um, your kids have gone to college and they moved out and they're not coming home for Christmas, or maybe they moved away. Maybe they're older and they moved away to another state, maybe another country, and they can't make it home for Christmas. Those are all things that are going to be painful. Obviously, death being the most painful out of all of them, but they're all painful, whether it's divorce or people who moved away, whatever it is. So now I get it. Now I understand why people struggle at Christmas. And I listen to people say to me a lot, I got to get through the holidays. And it's such a shame that people have to get through the holidays. Not, I'm looking forward to the holidays. I can't wait. I want to be present during the holidays, but I got to get through them. Almost like I can't wait till it's over, because then I won't have to think about the pain that I'm in order to feel comfortable. And that really is sad if you really think about it. So maybe we could start to think about people who are in your neighborhood, people who are uh, friends of yours, people who maybe you haven't seen in a long time, but you know that they're lonely. You know that they're struggling. Maybe they again lost someone. Maybe they are um, just got diagnosed with an illness, whatever it may be, and then reach out and see if you can do something to at least take some of the burden away. I certainly know that you can't fix everything, and that's not possible. But at the same time, you could sit there with them. They say get in the mud, right? You got to get in the mud with them. Well, get in the mud with them at Christmas time. Go over for half an hour. Call them on the phone. Talk. You know, FaceTime them. Buy them a little something. It doesn't have to be millions of dollars worth of stuff. You buy a very small thing and just stop over. Bake something. Bring it over. Whatever it is. If you have kids, bring the kids over. Let them see kids, especially older people love to see kids, children around Christmas time. You know, I know a lot of people, including me. I go to the mall still, even though my kids are older, and I go to see Santa. I walk and watch Santa Claus. I obviously don't bring my kids to sit in his lap, but I certainly enjoy watching it and remembering back to when my kids did it, and also remembering back to when I did it. You know, I did those memories are great. And Dr. Jacqueline says it's so nice to write personal cards to someone. Sing songs is beautiful. Yeah, yeah, those are great things that you could do. Sing songs, write a card, you know. And if you write the card, don't mail it, bring it over, drive over if you can. I'm not saying that that's always easy, but if you can find time, it's great. And I last year was not able to enjoy the holidays as much as I wanted to. I wanted to be able to enjoy them more, but my separation was fresh, and it was not easy. This year it's a little easier, and that's what I hope people take out of this too, is that it does get a little bit easier as time goes on, because then you have what really everybody says is the new normal. Um, you know, I have a friend, and he is going to be alone on Christmas, and he was alone on Thanksgiving. And I tried to see if I could get him out and get him to join us, my family, and just be a part of holidays and have some family around him. And he really didn't want to. He just wanted to be alone. And when I say that, I don't mean that he wanted to be alone. He just could not force himself to come out and be a part of anything due to depression, mental illness. And there was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't change that. I couldn't force him to do it. Now, some people are okay with that. Some people say, you know what, I can be alone, and I'm fine with it. And there are plenty of people like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're okay alone, you're okay alone. But if you're not, it is very, very painful. And he would tell me all the time and cry about how lonely he was, that he didn't have people around him, that he didn't have anybody to share with. And he's got kids, but sometimes the kids would be with their mother. And he'd say, I'd sit alone in the house and just cry for a few hours on the holidays. Thanksgiving as well, this past year. And it just was difficult to hear, you know, and he still did not want to, or I shouldn't say want to, he couldn't break through the depression, the pain that he was in. So it was easier just to stay locked up in his house and not push himself. I get it. I've been there. I know what depression's like. Dr. Jacqueline says she was alone on Thanksgiving working in another country and cried for about 15 minutes and then got back to work. And that's a strength that Dr. Jacqueline has, is the ability to be upset, mourn something, be sad about something, and then say, all right, I spent enough time doing that, and now it's time to get back to what I want to do or what I need to do. And that's a skill. That's a skill that needs to be worked on. That's not a skill that comes easy to most people. And I'm sure it didn't come easy to Dr. Jacqueline either. I think she probably had to work on that. I don't think that that's something that's natural to most people. We tend to latch on to difficult things, hard things, and ruminate, where it runs around and around and around in your head, and you just can't get that out of your head, and it just stays there. And you can't reason with it. You can't say, well, I'm not going to think about it, or you can't tell it to turn off, because the more you try to fight it, the more you will have trouble. So what you have to do is, as Dr. Jacqueline said, is go back to something else or do something else, get yourself out of that position and do something that takes your mind off of it. Because trying to forget it, sitting there and just saying, okay, I'm going to stop crying in 5 minutes, or I'm going to stop crying in 30 minutes, or whatever it is, it's not going to work unless you have something to fill that space. So you have to be able to move on. And it is a unique skill. I certainly know that not everybody has it. I'm developing it. I'm getting better at it. I certainly wouldn't say that I have it. So where Dr. Jacqueline might have 15 minutes of sadness, I might have 5 hours of sadness, and then I can start to feel better and move on. Now, it's far cry from when there were times where I'd be depressed for a week. 5 hours compared to a week is huge, the difference. So I certainly am thankful for that. But you see, it's a work in progress. It's not that much different than when you lift weights. When I was lifting weights, and I started out with 80 pounds, just bench pressing 80 pounds, and then I got up to 100, and then I got up to 150, and then I got up to 200, and you just go little by little by little. But then all of a sudden you get there. Or planks. People who do planks. My brother does a lot of planks. Some people do planks and they can only do it for a minute. But then a month later, they could do it for 5 minutes. And a month later, they could do it for 10 minutes. And a month later, they could do it for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, which is very, very difficult to do. And Rachel said hugs for Dr. Jacqueline, which is great. And I'm sure Antoinette's there too. So hi, Antoinette. And Dr. Jacqueline says she teaches a course on setting boundaries. It takes work, as I said, to be able to do it. It's about respecting yourself. It's a skill for sure. And Rachel says she's sending hugs to me too, so I appreciate that. But and same back to you, Rachel. Merry Christmas. It is something that takes practice. It is something that's hard to do. And I think that a lot of times, remember that line, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. And I remember listening to Bono. He was interviewed. He was the one who sang that part of it. And Bono said that was difficult for him to sing because he felt it was harsh, that you're saying, thank God it's them instead of you. But Bob Geldof, who wrote the song, was saying that's not how he meant it when he wrote it. What he meant was, think about the fact that you put yourself in their position. What would it be like if you were home alone on Christmas? You didn't have your kids with you. You're sitting in the living room. There's nobody to eat with. All you have is the sound of television or the internet. And your thoughts are racing because you're depressed. You're upset. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't talk to anybody about it. You're all alone. And this friend of mine, no family, no friends in the neighborhood, in the area. And he's just got to try to keep it together and do the best he can. And I know what's going to happen. I already know. He's going to cry and he's going to be sad and probably try to sleep most of the day away. And that's heartbreaking. But it goes back to what I said in the beginning of the show. My young mind could not even fathom the fact that the holidays can be hard for people. I just could not even believe that could be possible, because what could be more fun than the holidays? And then you get older and then you start to see the things that happen. High school friend of mine, this yesterday, I guess it was, or the day before, her apartment was on fire, caught on fire. And there is a GoFundMe if anybody's interested. You can go on, check me out on Facebook. I'll post it if you want to donate to the family. But it's just awful. Her apartment caught on fire. They lost everything. She's in the hospital. And unbelievably, her husband was one of the firefighters fighting the fire, and he was killed. So she lost her husband. She's in the hospital, and she lost everything she owned in the blink of an eye. Now, that kid who wasn't able to see how Christmas could be painful, now as an adult, I could see it could be monumentally painful. it can be painful to the point where it's almost impossible to get through, that you really need to sleep it off, or you need to, some people drink, some people, take medicinal marijuana or other kinds of medications. Hopefully they don't do it, to excess, but some people do those things. You know, some people see a therapist, and whatever it takes, try to get through it as best you can, but it's not that easy. And then think about this. I mean, she's gonna have to remember that the rest of her life. Every Christmas is gonna be the same thing. It's the couple days after my apartment burned down, I lost my husband and I wound up in the hospital. Now, how does she get through that even 10 years from now? How does she say, it was 10 years ago, so I'm gonna be able to get through it this year? I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know if I could ever look at Christmas the same way if it happened to me. So it doesn't have to be far away. I think we think about people um, who are struggling, who are starving, who are homeless, to be out there somewhere. Because a lot of us live in suburbs. A lot of us don't live in the city where you see homeless people or you see people who are poor. But I was in the city last Thursday with my kids doing all kinds of Christmas stuff. We were going to the Wanamaker show, which is a light show in Philadelphia, in the old Wanamaker building. We went to the Charles Dickens house and we saw that, and went to a place called Reading Terminal Market where we had some ice cream, and then we went to another light show, and it just was a great night. But you know how many homeless people we passed during that excursion? 20, 15? I don't know. I didn't count, but we gave money to the first person we saw, but then you just can't keep on giving money out. You just don't have it. You can't solve all the world's problems. And that's for me, at least, that's one of the frustrating things, is that you can't fix everything. You have to accept the fact that these things are going to happen and people are going to suffer. And no matter how bad you feel, no matter how much it's painful, um, you're going to have to just accept that you're not going to be able to stop it. In fact, I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Jacqueline, because I called her this week because of my friend and his plight. And I was crying on the phone. I was telling her about him and the struggles that he was going through, and how I was worried about his safety. How I was worried about, what he might do. Because he's mentioned things like, I wish I wasn't here, or I wish I was never born, and things that do raise red flags when you start to think about somebody who's in a desperate situation, feeling desperate. Again, no family around, no friends around, divorced, kids not always with them. It piles up, piles up, piles up. And then, people start to think about things like ending their life. And I was there before. I've been there. I know what it's like to say to yourself, gee, I really don't want to be here anymore. And wondering if you would really act on it or not. Would you do it? Would you actually follow through? And I don't know how you know that. I don't know, short of a crystal ball, how you can tell whether people are serious or they're just saying that and it's a cry for help. I really don't know. I'm not sure. And I think most professionals don't know either, because people who do commit suicide, most of the time have gotten help, and it wasn't caught, and it wasn't something they were able to stop. Now, I'm not trying to be a Donnie Downer here, but how do you know that if you don't reach out to somebody and you don't do something for them, you don't bring them over a pie, or you don't sit with them for half an hour, how do you know that didn't save their life? How do you know? Maybe they were contemplating suicide because nobody cared about them. Everybody abandoned them. Everybody left them. Nobody would ever stay with them because they were not worthy of love, or they weren't, they felt like they didn't belong, or that there was something wrong with them, or all the things that everybody thinks about, but most people could just say, well, that's not really true. Where some people can't. Some people are stuck in the mindset that, I'm just not lovable, I'm just not good enough, I'm just not this, or I'm just not that. And what happens is people get tired of hearing that, and they do abandon them. And that's the unfortunate thing, which only reinforces the fact, or the myth really, that they aren't lovable. It's not true, but it gets reinforced when people are like, I'm tired of hearing it, so I'm not going to go back. Go back. Go back. Keep going and keep trying to help that person until you can't anymore. And that's what it's come to with this friend of mine. I asked him to get help. I said, you gotta get through these holidays, but you need help. You need somebody to help you through this. And he just doesn't want to get it. And he was angry. And I had to pull back the reins and say, I just can't do anything. I can't help anymore. I don't have the ability to do it. And until somebody wants that kind of help, you just can't. But you try as hard as you can. If somebody tells you go away and they don't want you anymore to give them advice or to do what you can for them, then you have to respect their wishes and you have to let it go. But if they're enjoying your company, or if you're making them feel better, it's well worth it. So there's no reason not to have fun, and there's certainly no reason to dwell on these things either. There is a happy medium where, yeah, you want to think of people who are less fortunate. Toys for Tots is a great thing to do, but you don't want to get yourself into a point where you're mired inside of a depression because you think about all the kids who are going to go without toys. It's sad, of course it is. Or the people who are going to be eating alone. Yeah, it's sad. It's very difficult to think about. The people who have lost someone. It's very easy to put yourself in their position. What's going to be like when that happens to me? And it's okay to do that for a short amount of time. But if you do it too long, it's going to ruin your holidays. And inevitably, you're going to face holidays that are going to be tough for you too. Like you said, my friends who have lost parents, I haven't experienced that. I don't know what it's like to go through a Christmas without my parents. Unless I die first, I am going to experience that. There's no way around that. It's not something that I could say, hey, it never happened. It's 100% likely that will happen if I live long enough. Now, being 51 and my parents being close to 80 and just over 80, the odds are that I'm going to live a little longer than them. So I'm going to have to face that. My daughter the other day when we were out, she said, Dad, I hope all four of my grandparents are at my wedding. She's 19. And I didn't want to upset her, but I told her, I said, look, you're going to have to face the fact that you're going to be lucky if any of them are there because you're 19. And unless you get married at 25, in 10 more years, everybody's going to be pushing 90 or close to it. And that's hard. It's not easy. It's well past average. And again, I know this sounds like a show where it's just kind of gloom and doom, but it's not. It's just we have to remember that we're going to be in the same position. And if you can put yourself in the position that other people are in right now, maybe you can help them through it. And maybe they'll help you. Yeah, maybe you being there for them today, they'll pay it forward going down the line. So when you're in that position, they're going to say, yeah, you know what? You were there for me and I'm going to be here for you now. We'll get through this together. I hope people never let the holidays become something that they have to get through, that they want it over so bad because it's so painful. And I honestly believe, and I know that not everybody around the world, and we're going live around the world here, that everybody believes the same thing. I get that, but I believe that they're all still here. They're just here in a different way. And yeah, I mean, that doesn't make it less painful, but it certainly is some comfort to know that, or at least believe, if you believe, that they're not just gone, they're here, and the memories are still here. Now, the memories, when they first happen, can be painful, and they are painful, but then they become treasured memories that you're going to hold on to, and you'll say, um, remember when so and so did this, or remember when so and so did that, and that was great. That was really funny, or whatever. And my family does that now. We laugh about things that relatives did, and we laugh about some of the crazy things that they said, and things that they enjoyed at the holidays and traditions and things like that that continue to go. Remember, I always tell you with this show is if you're coming here for answers, you're coming to the wrong place. All I'm trying to do is make you think. I'm not here to answer questions and give you all the answers to life because I don't know all the answers. I don't have all the answers. Are there times now that I struggle with certain things at the holidays? Of course. Of course I do. Am I always able to do what Dr. Jacqueline does and take 15 minutes and be sad and then be over it? No, I can't always do that. I try, but I can't always do it. Yeah, I think back to when my kids were little and my marriage was together and opening up gifts as a family and being downstairs and in the really big almost looked like a fire hall down there in the house and lots of room and yeah, the trains were all set up and we had Miriglianiville with all the ski slopes that we made with cotton and all the snowflakes and the Christmas tree we had they call it buffalo snow that you could throw and it would go all over the tree like snowflakes and throw it all over the floor. It looked like there was snow on the floor. It was just a great thing. We had several trains going and they were all making noise and my two daughters were enjoying it. They were first obviously babies and then they grew and the gifts got to be a little different, but it was still the same thing. It was still the same exciting thing where they would wake up and we go downstairs and open up gifts and everybody would be exhausted, but from being up late on Christmas Eve, but they were great things. And if you think that I could get through holidays without remembering that and not having a little twinge of sadness, or at least, feel that I missed that part of my life, no, I can't tell you that. And even if I wasn't in the middle of a divorce, I think it would be the same thing because you only get that time once. You only get that time once in your life. And when I say that time, I mean little kids who believe in Santa. You get a few years of it, but you don't get decades of it. Okay. But they maybe by 2 years old, they could start believing in Santa. Before that, they don't even know what's going on. And then by the time they're 8 or 9, it's probably over. So you're lucky you get 7, 8 years. And then when it's over, it's like, wow, did I enjoy it enough? Did I think about it enough? Was I present in the moment enough? And you probably weren't because being a parent and being an adult, it's hard to do that. It's hard to be in the moment all the time because you're always thinking about what needs to be done next or what's going to happen next or where are we going to go? Where do we have to drive? Are the kids ready? Did anybody get sick? All the million things that go into holidays. But you look back on it later, as I do with a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I think, man, those are great days. But I'm also starting to think about how great these days are too. That they are 19 and 14, and the gifts are fun to give them still, and the surprises are still fun, and they're still my babies. I mean, it's not going to change just because they get older. It's not going to make any difference. And the memories that I have with my grandparents and those aunts and uncles and cousins who were there when I was a kid, and I thought Christmases will never be the same if they weren't here. They're not the same, but that doesn't mean they're bad. They're still good. They're good in a different way because my kids weren't here when I was 10, obviously. No. So yeah, my grandparents aren't here. None of them. And that's not easy to think about all the time, especially the holidays. But if time didn't move on and they didn't move on, then my kids would never have been here and I would be perpetually 10. So we talk about reframing on the show all the time because that's a big part of it. That's a way to reframe. You could frame it as, oh my gosh, I miss these old days and they're never going to be back again and it's done, which is true. But you could also say, yeah, that's true. But there are also days now that are happening that never happened before, and these are new ones. It's taken me almost 50 years to get to that point. I wasn't there for most of my life. And it's a work in progress too. It's not something that is linear. It doesn't always just keep growing and growing and growing. I have days where I'm just like, oh, I can't, I'm just not feeling it. And the sadness can not be overwhelming, but it can be pervasive. It can feel like it's a heavy, heavy day. And then the next morning I wake up and I say, all right, I gave up yesterday to sadness. It's not going to happen again today. And I try to fight it, try to fight it. But there are so many things that you can do and I can do to help people through tough times. Like donate money. I know it's not very personal, but at least it's something. Toys for Tots. Before I had kids, we did Toys for Tots a lot. Because I thought about all the kids that didn't have toys. And I probably spent the same amount of money on Toys for Tots than I do for my own kids now. Because it was like I wanted that Christmas feeling. I wanted that to go on forever and ever and ever. And it can. You get a lot of Christmases if you live long enough. If you lived in the average lifespan, that's 78 Christmases. You can make them really great. That's a lot of Christmases. They're all not going to be wonderful, not every one of them. We learned that from Christmas Vacation. They're all not going to be great, and everything's not going to go 100% right. But there are plenty of things to look forward to and be happy about. And there are plenty of people who could use you this time of year. So be an instrument to help them have a great holiday too. All right, we're up against the clock. So I just wanted to end the show with a couple of things. If you want to go to my website, I'm still in business for now. We're struggling here with the economy, but it's www.justforyoutc.com. And what we do is corporate training, soft skills, computer skills, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, a bunch of other ones. We've added AI to it now, Chat GPT. And we also do soft skills, time management, conflict management, all different types of training, individualized group training. And then my charity is, you can find me at www.checkmatescharity.com. And we support people with Crohn's disease, colitis, and ostomy. And we're also starting to branch out for people who have mental illness to try to help with that as well. So we're moving. We're gonna have a revamped webpage. We got a lot going on. So check with us, and we'll give you more information. There's a show that we did together, Dr. Jacqueline and I, probably about 10 years ago, rapping with Dr. Jacqueline. So going back a ways. And that's where you can find me. All right. So I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Be safe. Be well. And we will see you in the new year, the first Monday of the new year. And we'll just push on in 2026 and make it the best year it could possibly be. All right. Happy holidays, everybody.
Listen, babe, now. Listen, babe, now. Listen, babe, now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day, Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, only here on USA Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Steve Klein Art at steveklein.art.
My name is Steve Klein, born Manchester, England, 1953. My quest in my lifetime is to create artwork from my soul and the deepness within my wildest dreams and fantasies. In 2012, my heart stopped when I was given too much anesthetic for a minor knee operation, and this near-death experience took me to another multidimensional world, an out-of-body experience, and I was given the gift of being blessed by an overwhelming, burning passion to become, for the very first time in my life, an artist with an eternal, passionate desire to bring my art, which I've named multidimensional, subliminal, freeform art, to the world, as only 3% recover from what I experienced, and now in my golden years want to release my cosmic, vital energy through my art to allow people to be a part of my cosmic dance.
To learn more, email roccogoodwine@gmail.com. For VIP pricing, mention USA Global TV and Radio.
Which of these 5 statements sounds mostly like you? 1. I often wake up in the middle of the night worrying about my future. 2. I'm angry or resentful towards a specific person. 3. I have anxious, obsessive, compulsive thoughts throughout the day. 4. I have an addiction like smoking, drinking, shopping, sugar, or social media. And 5, I feel that I'm wasting away my life. Hello, I'm Dr. Alkistis Agio, and for over 25 years, I've been coaching and training people from all over the world to transform their fears, insecurities, anxiety, and anger into mental and emotional freedom. I'm confident that my simple 3-step method based on Greek philosophy can help you to transform into the joyful, confident, free human being that you deserve to be. I want to invite you to join my weekly online coaching group to finally get the results that you want. Look, you've tried it alone so far and you've had some okay results, but let's face it, you're still feeling stuck right now, spinning your wheels. Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, unless you realize this as a fact, that you are a prisoner of your own mind, you can't move forward. I'm here to support you, as well as the whole community that we are co-creating. Stop feeling stuck. Stop feeling depressed. You don't have to do it alone, and alone isn't working anyway. Sign up today, and I'll meet you on the inside of our amazing weekly group call. I guarantee that you'll make progress from the very first session.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.